Welcome to our workshop on integrating source material, produced by the Writing and Media Center at Iowa State University. This workshop will teach you how to use source material in your writing ethically and effectively while avoiding plagiarism. Now, there are three main ways of integrating information from other sources into your writing: paraphrasing, summarizing, and quoting directly. In this video, we'll be looking at strategies for paraphrasing effectively. Here's a sample source passage we'll be working with today. The source citation follows MLA format, and below the citation is a lengthy quotation from pages 457 and 458 of Christopher Stone's article from the Southern California Law Review. Now is a good time to pause the video and read this passage to yourself, just as you would if you were researching. Very good. When you find a passage that you may want to use in your paper, be sure to note the page number. Since this quote begins on page 457 and ends on page 458, we've noted where the page numbers change so that we can cite the information accurately. Now, let's look at some strategies for paraphrasing this source. To paraphrase is to put an idea in your own words. Don't be surprised if, as you research, you encounter unfamiliar terms. You'll need to figure out what those words mean to understand what the passage as a whole means before you paraphrase. For example, a student reading this passage may not know what in re galt means and may not remember exactly what the Fifth Amendment says. It's okay, you can always look it up. Now, a quick web search revealed that the Fifth Amendment established protection from self-incrimination, and that in re galt is the name of a 1967 court case. And this in re is a Latin preposition meaning in the legal case of. So don't be daunted by unfamiliar words or references. Run a quick web search. Check your textbook or other reference books for definitions and context, talk with someone knowledgeable, and of course, you can always visit the WMC. Once you've worked out any unfamiliar terminology in your source material and you have a basic idea of what a given passage means, try explaining what it means in your own words. You might do this out loud or in writing. You might write to explain the source to yourself, or better yet, explain it out loud to a roommate, a classmate, or a friend. This low-pressure exercise is a great strategy for preparing to paraphrase. I recommend that you pause the video and try it right now. You could explain this passage out loud to someone near you, practice explaining it out loud if you're by yourself, or try explaining it to yourself in writing. Okay, explaining Stone's passage to yourself might sound something like this. Stone is talking about rights, what rights are and what rights are not, what rights do guarantee and what they don't guarantee. He's talking about the idea that the natural environment should have rights and explaining what that does not mean. He says it doesn't mean that no one can cut down a tree, and even calls that idea silly. Even human beings, he says, legally can be executed through the death penalty if the death penalty is legal. I know it isn't everywhere, but it still is legal in many places. The Fifth Amendment, which protects from self-incrimination, does not apply to corporations, even though corporations have legal rights. In re galt is just a court case. The point here is that minors have some rights, but not all rights. Basically, guaranteeing rights does not guarantee that a person or entity has all rights. Also, with the way we think about rights and the way the legal system works, not every being has the exact same set of rights as every other being. Corporations don't have the same rights as people. People under 18 don't have the same sets of rights as people over 18. Stone is trying to explain what he's not saying when talking about rights for the natural environment so that he isn't misunderstood. He does not mean that the environment should have unlimited rights so that we could not even cut down a tree. He also says that not every single thing in the environment should have the same rights as every other thing, which seems reasonable. Okay, so would you write this, which is a transcript of my conversational paraphrase, would you write this in your paper? No, of course not. You have to shift to an academic register. Here is an example of a formally written paraphrase right here. Stone distances himself from the idea that recognizing rights of the natural environment would prevent humans from using or benefiting the environment at all. Even people, Stone points out, have limited rights. Capital punishment, for instance, limits a person's right to continue living. U.S. law recognizes rights of corporations. However, the Fifth Amendment, which guarantees the right to not incriminate oneself, does not apply to corporations. Minors have rights, yet young people gain more legal rights, such as the right to vote upon reaching age 18. Stone thus proceeds by analogy to explain that recognizing rights of trees does not entail granting them unlimited rights or even identical rights to humans or other environmental objects. Now, note the parenthetical citation at the end. Always include a source citation when you use information from an outside source, whether you're paraphrasing, summarizing, or quoting the source. Now might be a good time to pause the video if you'd like to spend a little more time comparing the source passage to the paraphrase. You'll see that they do indeed convey the same key ideas, but that the paraphrase is entirely in the student's own words. Now let's review what we've learned about using source material. To paraphrase is to restate an idea in your own words. To paraphrase accurately, you have to first understand what the source is saying. It often helps to break down the passage and define any unfamiliar terms. As you figure out how to put the meaning of the source into your own words, you might try explaining what the passage means to yourself or someone else out loud or in writing. Once you can explain the passage in your own words, remember to shift to an academic register for academic writing. And when paraphrasing, always cite the source. Thank you for watching part 1 of our webinar series on integrating source material. Part 2 will address summarizing. You can schedule a one-on-one consultation at the Writing and Media Center at any time by calling 515-294-5411 or by visiting our website at www.wmc.dso.iastate.edu. See you at the WMC.